Y&R Spoilers reveal Amanda and Dumas' daring plan. Could Billy and Sally have discovered something wrong? Sally begins to notice unusual changes in Amanda's behavior since Aristotle Dumas, a famous but mysterious name, appeared in their story. Being a perceptive and intuitive person, Sally cannot ignore Amanda's strange expressions, from evasive looks to private phone calls at late hours, secret meetings that no one knows about. Having experienced many storms in life, Sally understands that in Genoa City, nothing is accidental, every secret has a deep cause and every strange action signals an approaching storm. Worried and driven by a hunch that Amanda is hiding something directly related to Aristotle Dumas, Sally is determined to get to the bottom of the truth. She spent many evenings quietly following Amanda, recording every move, every destination, every person Amanda met. Sally's persistence was further strengthened when Billy himself expressed his doubts. Billy, who had fallen and risen many times, understood the hidden dangers in the intricate relationships in this town. He agreed with Sally that only by finding out the truth about the connection between Amanda and Dumas could they truly control their own destiny, instead of becoming pawns on someone else's chessboard. Sally did not stop at just following. She also looked for opportunities to approach Amanda's personal belongings, not excluding the possibility of breaking into her private room when the opportunity arose. The encounters with Amanda became increasingly tense. Amanda's eyes were no longer natural, while Sally always kept a calm face, trying to hide the growing curiosity in her heart. One afternoon, when Amanda was absent due to an unexpected appointment, Sally boldly broke into Amanda's room. She searched the drawers, checked the computer, the phone, and even the files hidden in the bottom drawer. Here, Sally discovered documents related to Aristotle Dumas, coded contracts, a few photos of Dumas with other powerful figures in Europe, a handwritten letter with vague content but enough to make Sally sure that Amanda was not as simple as she appeared. With her ingenuity and daring, Sally also tried to approach people who had business or personal relationships with Aristotle Dumas. She proactively met Amanda's former employees and friends, followed traces on social networks and through underground relationships in the business community in Genoa City. Each story, each account made the picture of Dumas more complicated and dangerous. That man not only had money and power but also the ability to manipulate others, turning them into his own pawns without anyone knowing. In parallel with Sally's investigation, in another development, Phyllis falls into a state of extreme disappointment when she cannot receive the money she had expected from Dumas. Phyllis once believed that she had made a smart move by joining hands with Dumas, but in the end she realized that she was just one of the victims being exploited. Phyllis feels hurt and angry. She seeks out Nick to confide, hoping to receive sympathy and help from her old friend. Nick, who has always stood his ground, is caught in the middle of the trouble this time when Sharon herself begins to show unusual concern for Dumas, and even for Phyllis. The newfound intimacy between Sharon and Phyllis is initially something that both of them feel surprised and happy about, because they have had many conflicts in the past due to personal love affairs. However, when Phyllis becomes frustrated and acts impulsively because she doesn't receive money from Dumas, Sharon unintentionally finds herself in the middle, trying to reconcile and protect both friends' feelings. But this new relationship becomes a burden for Nick when he senses that Sharon is not being completely honest about her feelings with him. Nick feels uncomfortable when he sees Sharon trying to help Phyllis, which he considers to be too much, especially when Sharon is showing signs of emotional instability and giving too much attention to things that don't belong to her. As time went on, the atmosphere between the old friends became tense. Each of them had their own secrets, their own plans that they could not share with anyone, even their closest friends. Sally seemed to have reached the limit of her curiosity when she got some evidence of the suspicious relationship between Amanda and Aristotle Dumas. She began to make many hypotheses. Did Amanda have a personal connection, or was she even manipulated or threatened by Dumas? Was Amanda herself indirectly helping Dumas carry out secret plans that no one knew about? Sally considered how to use what she found. Would she confront Amanda directly, or would she use that evidence to force Amanda to admit everything, or even cooperate with her against Dumas? At this time, Sally felt more pressured when she discovered that Amanda was also starting to notice her. Small confrontations happened every day, cold eyes, innuendos, and unclear warning signs. Billy, though an outsider, is drawn into this vortex of trouble. He observes the changes in Sally's demeanor, noticing that she is becoming more pensive and cautious than before, and senses the tension when Sally and Amanda appear in the same space. Billy convinces Sally to share what she knows, but Sally is not yet fully trusting anyone, knowing that a small mistake could cost her everything, even put herself in real danger if Aristotle Dumas finds out she is investigating him. Meanwhile, Phyllis is still struggling with her own emotions as she is caught between her own ambitions, her wounded pride, and her fear of powerful people like Dumas. She tried to pull Nick towards her, hoping to find comfort and allies in this invisible war, but Nick grew more and more distant when he realized that Phyllis did not really trust him, and Sharon seemed to be looking for her own path, no longer wanting to be tied to old grudges. Distrust, suspicion, and fear gradually covered everyone involved. The deeper Sally dug, the more horrifying secrets she discovered about Aristotle Dumas, about Amanda's past, about the seemingly unrelated but actually tangled relationships that bound the fates of many people in Genoa City. Each event, each secret revealed led to other secrets, forming a complex web that anyone who accidentally got caught up in would find difficult to escape. However, Sally did not give up. She knew that if she stopped, all her efforts would go up in smoke and she would never know the truth. With determination and toughness that has been forged through many storms, Sally continues her journey alone, regardless of the dangers that lie ahead, because she believes that only the truth can free everyone from the nightmare of Aristotle Dumas and the dangerous tangled relationships in Genoa City. And so, the game of secrets and betrayal continues. No one knows who is friend, who is enemy, who is really behind the scenes pulling the strings. Sally understands that this war is long, and she must prepare for worse things that can happen at any time, because when the truth gradually reveals, not just one person but many people will have to face consequences that they never imagined in their lives. Billy is a person who always carries the spirit of innovation but is also full of ambition and somewhat cold when faced with important decisions related to career and power. The day Billy bluntly fired Phyllis from Abbott Communications, the atmosphere in the office seemed to freeze under the weight of that decision. Phyllis was always confident, brave and full of desire to prove herself, but when she was removed from the place where she used to show all her personality and talent, the feeling of failure and depression accumulated, causing Phyllis to fall into a state of emptiness and extreme confusion. She not only lost a position, but also felt like she was removed from a second family, where every moment of joy and sadness, struggle, victory, and defeat were imprinted with the traces of her youth. During those days, Nick always appeared as a familiar figure, not noisy but quietly strong. Nick does not hesitate to play the role of knight, protector of anyone he feels he can trust or love, especially the women who have passed through his life. Nick's presence to Phyllis is a reminder that no matter how many storms have passed, there is still someone ready to reach out and hold her when she stumbles. He silently shares the pain, helping Phyllis regain her confidence and pride. But that inadvertently pushes Sharon into a state of confusion and jealousy, emotions that she previously thought had faded from her mind after all the tragedies and failures she has gone through. Sharon, the woman who seemed to be too familiar with loss and hurt, began to reveal insecure emotions that were not like her own. She was concerned with every glance, every small gesture that Nick gave Phyllis, even though she still tried to show that she was strong and rational enough to maintain the newly blossoming friendship with Phyllis. But inside, Sharon realized that she was crossing the boundary of etiquette, no longer able to maintain objectivity when wanting to know more about all the interactions between Nick and his ex. Every time Nick appeared next to Phyllis, Sharon felt a little confused, a little afraid that the current peace was only temporary, that the ghost of the past would return at any time to drag her down into the abyss of doubt and insecurity. The biggest question that Sharon carried with her was not only about the relationship between Nick and Phyllis, but also about herself after all the events that had happened one after another. Sharon has been through a series of traumatic events that would have been unbearable for anyone else, from being drugged by Ian, to being locked in a dark sewer by Jordan, to being kidnapped by Martin Lauren in a tense hostage situation at her own facility. But strangely, Sharon has recovered so quickly, seemingly unscathed from the terrible events. This makes those around her, and Sharon herself, wonder. Is she really okay, or is it all just a mask of resilience that she is forced to wear to continue to survive in Genoa City, where tragedy always lurks and every relationship contains secrets that have never been told? Some people think that Sharon has become so accustomed to seeing danger and pain as a daily occurrence, that she can bury all the painful memories so deeply that she can no longer feel them clearly. But Phyllis understood better than anyone that if those psychological wounds were not healed, they would grow bigger and bigger, silently destroying her inner self until she could no longer bear it. Sharon, with her calm appearance, often appeared with a gentle smile and a deep look, but somewhere in her eyes was an ocean of suppressed emotions, countless memories piled up just waiting for the opportunity to explode into an unexpected mental health incident. Nick's increasingly frequent presence in Phyllis's life only added to Sharon's anxiety. She couldn't stop thinking about how Nick and Phyllis's love story had broken her marriage, the source of her lost days, struggling between reason and emotion. Sharon didn't blame Nick, didn't hate Phyllis, but the echoes of the past were still wounds that couldn't be healed, and just a light wind was enough to make them ache again. Every time Sharon saw Nick standing next to Phyllis, those memories came flooding back, making her even more worried that the vortex of fate would drag her into a new tragedy, that she would never be able to escape the shadow of the past. Meanwhile, Phyllis tried to maintain her confident and proud demeanor despite having just experienced a great shock when Billy fired her from Abbott Communications. She told herself that she was strong, that nothing could defeat her will to move forward, but the truth was that she felt more lost and defeated than ever. Losing her job was not only losing her income but also losing her self-worth, losing her purpose in life in a world where everyone had to prove that they were not weak. Phyllis knew that she could not rely on anyone forever, even though Nick was always willing to protect her. Sometimes, she also wanted to lean on Sharon, because after many years of rivalry and misunderstanding, a silent sympathy had formed between them, a strange but extremely practical friendship in the context of all the old values in Genoa City being constantly challenged. However, Sharon could not completely open her heart to Phyllis. The doubts about the relationship between Nick and Phyllis were like an invisible barrier that made Sharon always cautious, considering every word and every action. Sometimes, Sharon herself finds herself strangely interested in other people's lives, especially when she actively inquires about meetings and conversations between Nick and Phyllis. Sharon wonders why she has become like this. Is it because of unhealed wounds, or is it because of the fear of losing what is left after so many years of turmoil? But all those conflicts and emotions are just the tip of the iceberg. Deep inside, Sharon is still the woman who has loved, hoped, fallen, and stood up. She knows that everything will come to an end, that she must face the pain and cannot bury it under a strong mask forever. The warning signs of a potential mental health problem are becoming more and more obvious, just waiting for an event big enough to explode, sweeping away all the efforts to suppress and control that Sharon has worked so hard to build. Billy, the man who decided to remove Phyllis from the power game, actually had a lot of remorse in his heart. He understood that he could not continue to live in the past, that Abbott Communications needed change and people who were truly suited to the new vision, but he could not deny the feeling of loss when he was forced to part with a longtime partner. Billy's decision was not only a decision about work, but also a test of his own courage and perseverance in the face of invisible pressures from family, partners, and society. Genoa City continues to move in conspiracies, conflicts, and secrets that have never been fully told. Each character has to face their own choices, with their own fears, hurts, aspirations, and unfulfilled dreams. Sharon, Phyllis, Nick, Billy, everyone has a past, their own wounds, and has experienced moments of disorientation and frustration. But then, in the very moments that seem the weakest, they find the strength to keep going, because they understand that life does not allow anyone to stop for too long, that tomorrow always contains new hopes, new opportunities, no matter how haunted the past is. And there, amidst the whirlpools of emotions, power, and unhealed pain, Sharon is still facing the biggest questions of her life every day, telling herself to bravely face the truth, because only then can she truly move forward. For herself and for all those she loves.